Hello, welcome to Spread Book Joy. Today I am announcing the new books for the FOMO Book Club. If you're new to the channel, I am Jack. And if you are new to the channel, you may not know that I run a book club called the FOMO Book Club, which stands for Fear of Missing Out Book Club. And it's books that myself and the other co-hosts feel we've missed out on reading. So Alice from Alice and Giant Bookshelf and Gemma from Gemma Books are two of my best reading buddies, and we decided to get together last year and think about all the books that we think we've missed out on reading, usually backlist books that people go, I can't believe you haven't read that. So we got together and we put a list of 6 books together because we wanted quite a casual book club because we've got a lot of other reading commitments. And so far the books that we have picked have been pretty successful. In fact, one of them that we picked for this year has probably been my favourite read of the year so far. So if you are not sure about FOMO Book Club and you want to learn more about it, I'm not going to go into it too much, but I've got another video where I announced what it is, what it's about, how you can join, and we have a Discord server. We do have a Goodreads group, but it's not very active, so I've kind of just stopped going into it because people aren't using it. But if people want to use Goodreads and they put a message in on it, I will get a notification and hopefully I'll respond to what you've put. But yeah, it's kind of not been very active on Goodreads, but we've got about 99 members over on Discord, including ourselves. But I'm not very active on Discord. Discord and me don't get on, but you'll find Alice on there quite a bit and a lot of other people chat about the books on there. FOMO Book Club, we read one book every 2 months. And the books that we read this year included some amazing books. We had Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. We've read Goodnight Mr. Tom by Michelle Magorian. That is my book of the year so far. We've read I Capture the Castle by Dodie Smith, The Dance Tree by Kieran Millwood Hargrave, and we're currently, because this is still August, while I'm recording this, reading The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. We've got one more book left for this year that we started the book club in, and that is The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield. So it's not too late to join for that, or for The Song of Achilles if you want to read it in the next week or two. So we do read the book over 2 months, then we have a live discussion on one of our channels where we talk about the books, and people who've taken part in the book club reading, if they can make it, they come along and they chat in the comments and we answer questions and think about the book a lot, and we go into a deep dive. So I'm going to link some of those videos in the description box below if you fancy going over to have a look and seeing what the vibe is. We have a lot of fun, basically. It's very casual. We've been very successful in the books we've picked. Even the least successful of the books have been a book that I've enjoyed, and it's also caused a lot of good debate when we have our live chat. So we are definitely doing it again. We decided to run the same process this year for picking books that we did last year. So to pick the books, we each write a huge list of books that we desperately want to read. And they have to be books that we really, really passionately want to read. Not just any old book on our TBR, but books that we really feel we're missing out by not reading them and not picking them up. So then we combine all 3 lists, and usually what we do is we get rid of any doubles, but for some reason this year, I couldn't see that there were lots of doubles on the list. But anyway, we go through it and we vote. We use Google Docs so we can see each other voting actually. We vote for the ones that we like, that we definitely want to read off of the list. And we vote for all of our own. But sometimes you kind of change your mind as you go through and you see each other's books as well. So we vote. Anything that gets 3 full votes stays on the list. Anything that only gets 1 or 2 votes just goes. So we whittle it down to the less long list, the medium list if you like. So we whittle it down to that list. And then what happens is we vote for our top 20. And when we vote for our top 20, we see if anyone else has the same 20. And if we've got similar ones, that becomes the ultimate shortlist. And then we rank them. So this year, when we whittled it down, we only had 5 that we all agreed on, and we need 6 books for the book prize. So what we did is we went back in and picked the next 3. So we then voted. So we ended up with 8. Actually, no, we picked another 4 in the end. We each had another vote, and we picked another 4 books, and we ended up with a list of 9, and then we ranked those 9. So we number them 1 to 9, the ones with the least being the top and the ones with the most being the bottom, and we add up the points and the score gives us a top 6. So it was quite complicated. I hope that's okay. You're probably thinking, why is she explaining all of this? But I just thought you might like to know our process. So the books we have picked for this year, I'm going to go through them in the order that we're going to be reading them. So first, in November and December, we are going to be reading Shirley Jackson, We Have Always Lived in the Castle. So this is a classic. I've never read any Shirley Jackson before. Shirley Jackson writes really sinister and dark novels. I think she's most well known as a horror writer, though I don't think this is typically horror. I think this is more like a black comedy, bit of a kind of twisted dark comedy from what I've read on the back, and it says that it's about the Blackwood family, and Mary Cat and her sister Constance live in their Blackwood family home with their uncle Julian, and Constance had been acquitted of murdering the rest of the family, but then their cousin Charles arrives armed with overtures of friendship and a desperate need to get into the safe. Mary Cat must do everything in her power to protect the remaining family. So this is her final greatest novel, according to this blurb. Shirley Jackson draws us into a dark, unsettling world of family rivalries, suspense and exquisite black comedy. And I feel like we felt this would be perfect for the dark months of November and December. So Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle is November and December's pick. In January and February, we are going to be reading Sarah Waters' Tipping the Velvet. I've only read one Sarah Waters and I've got a lot on my TBR. Tipping the Velvet is arguably her most famous book, and it's also her first novel, I didn't realise. So it is historical fiction, it is queer sapphic romance, and it is set in the 1890s, and it follows the fortunes of an oyster girl called Nan King, and it's oyster girl turned music hall star turned rent boy turned East End Tom. And it says here that one of the reviews on the back says it's an unstoppable read, a sexy and picaresque romp through the lesbian and queer demi-monde of the roaring 90s. So I mean the 1890s, not the 1990s. So yeah, this sounds absolutely like a fabulous book. Very, very famous. I remember there was an adaptation of it years ago on TV and I never watched it. I think I was too young to watch it at the time, but I've wanted to read this for so long. I've only ever read Fingersmith by Sarah Waters and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, Tipping the Velvet is our January and February read. In March and April, in honour of middle grade March, we are reading Bridge to Terabithia. This is a children's classic. I have read it before, but the other two co-hosts have not read it, and I'm really looking forward to them reading it after we read Goodnight Mr. Tom this year, and it became my absolute favourite book of this year so far, and the best book I've read for so far for FOMO. Yeah, I think The Bridge to Terabithia is just a classic tale of childhood friendship and imagination, and it is a gut-wrencher as well. It's brilliantly written. I haven't read it in many years. I'm really looking forward to reading it. It will break your heart. A more heartbreaking middle read from FOMO Book Club, but one that I think we're all going to love and enjoy. So yeah, March and April we'll be reading Bridge to Terabithia. In May and June, really busy months traditionally on BookTube, and so is March and April actually, so we've got some short books this year. So in May and June we will be reading Strangers on a Train by Patricia Highsmith. I have never read any Patricia Highsmith, again an author I feel I've missed out on, and Strangers on a Train is her classic, I think it's her first novel as well, classic crime thriller where two people meet on a train, they have problematic people in their lives, and they make a pact to murder each other's problem basically. So yeah, it's a classic crime thriller, and I'm really looking forward to reading it. The film Strangers on a Train, I can't remember who was in it, but the classic black and white film of Strangers on a Train, and it's just a brilliant concept. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading that. So that's our May and June pick. In July and August, we have the longest book on the list. I think it's the longest. I think my copy of Tipping the Velvet is about 470 pages, and this is a 544 page stonker from Barbara Kingsolver. It is Unsheltered by Barbara Kingsolver, and it's a novel about a woman whose family are going through really hard times, and they live in a crumbling old dilapidated house, and she starts to investigate the history of the house, and she discovers that a female scientist, I believe, used to live there in the 1880s, who was championing Charles Darwin's theory, much to the shock of the locals. So yeah, it sounds like a really interesting book from Barbara Kingsolver, and as a Pulitzer Prize winning novelist and winner of the Women's Prize for Fiction this year, I've yet to read any Barbara Kingsolver. I have the Poisonwood Bible on my shelf and I have Demon Copperhead on my Kindle, and I have yet to read either of them. Hopefully I'll have read them both before we get to July and August and read Unsheltered. But yes, Unsheltered is our July and August pick, and hopefully people have a lot of time in the summer because it's a big one. In September and October we decided to put our horror book. Now you might have thought it'd be Shirley Jackson, but we have an actual horror book here because Shirley Jackson, we're not quite sure if it falls into complete horror or not. But Horror Store by Grady Hendrix is our pick for September and October. We are very excited to read Grady Hendrix. I'm not sure if Alice and Gemma have read any before, but I've definitely read Grady Hendrix before. I read the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and My Best Friend's Exorcism is a book that I started. I haven't quite finished. I started it last year and put it down, not because it wasn't any good. I didn't have time to read it at the time. But Grady Hendrix is known for his quirky approach to horror and the beautiful kind of published, beautifully produced and designed books and book covers that really draw you in. So Horror Store is kind of like a traditional haunted house mystery, except it's not set in a house, it's set in a Swedish furniture store. And the book itself is designed to be like an IKEA catalogue. So what more could you ask for? I think 5 of the employees spend the night trying to figure out why everything's getting smashed up and moved around, and they spend the night ghost hunting, basically, is the concept. So that is our September and October pick. So I really hope you can join us for next year's FOMO Book Club picks, and even the ones that are still going on at the moment. Remember, we're reading Song of Achilles, and we're going to be live over on Gemma's channel next Sunday discussing that. And we are also going to be reading The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield for September and October this year, in honour of kind of Victober and Halloween, because it's kind of a creepy Victorian historical fiction from what I know. And again, I'm really excited because these are all books that we've all decided together would be the top books out of all of those lists, and we've all got books on the list that came from each of us. So we're very excited to present this list to you. We hope you can join us, and look in the description box below for details on how to join the Discord server, and hopefully we'll see you in there. So please, if you are thinking of joining FOMO Book Club, just drop an emoji of your choice in the comment box below, and hopefully we'll chat soon about books. Bye!